Welcome to Mikasa Canada Road to Nationals. I am very happy to be joined today by Josh Nichol. Josh was recently named Volleyball Canada's men's next-gen beach volleyball coach. Former coach, George Brown College. Josh has coached at, it seems like, every level of the sport, from the club level with Leaside Volleyball to the Canada Games. Josh, thanks a lot for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for having me.
So today, with summer just around the corner, we're going to talk about beach volleyball, getting to know the sport a little bit better, and if indoor players should be hitting the sand as well, with courts kind of not open this year. So it's been an interesting past year with the COVID pandemic. Obviously, all events have been severely affected, but there is still some hope surrounding outdoor events such as beach. Have you seen clubs looking to create more opportunities for beach this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think for anybody watching or listening, my lens is on Ontario here. So I think even during the club season, during tryouts, when we were restricted, I saw a lot of clubs being creative and actually going to beach facilities or using the courts in their communities to have their tryouts. Or the other thing that kind of took off in Ontario here that I haven't seen even when I worked for Ontario Volleyball was grass volleyball became really popular. So just clubs finding creative ways to get outside, put up a portable net where you think of how many courts we can fit on a soccer field or in the outfield of a baseball diamond. Like, you can still obviously socially distance, but have a lot of teams going. So I think it caused a lot of people to be creative, but it got them outside playing our sport, and hopefully convert some more people to some beach players this year.
Yeah, for sure. The creativity has been kind of interesting to follow along this past year. For beach, it can kind of seem intimidating for indoor players, maybe who haven't been exposed to the sport. What would you say to players who are on the fence about playing beach volleyball?
Well, I think what attracts a lot of people to beach volleyball is just the creativity and kind of the ownership or even autonomy the athlete gets. Because again, at least speaking with my experience in Ontario and other clubs around the country I've spoke to, a lot of clubs will offer training, but when you go to the tournament, like, you're almost on your own. So you don't have a coach. There's definitely no substitutions going on. You're calling your own timeout. So the athlete, even as young as like 12 or whatever the tournament is, they're kind of leading the way with their partner. You pick who you want to play with. So you're usually playing with one of your friends. So you just have an opportunity to kind of enjoy the sport a little bit more versus maybe the structure that indoor gives us with a coach and they're making lineups and substitution stuff, where the beach just gives you a little bit more natural freedom that I think attracts a lot of athletes to it. And then, I mean, the benefits are huge. And I think if you're an indoor coach and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want my athletes playing beach, like, they're going to get way more reps. You've got 4 athletes sharing one ball instead of 12 athletes sharing one ball in indoor, right? They're doing a little bit more cue reading and decision making because the court's not that much smaller. We're playing 8x8 versus 9x9 in indoor. So they're running around, they're having to make cue reads to play defense, keep the ball off the ground. There's just so much going on. And I think what people need to maybe realize is the skills are more the same than they are different. I think beach maybe gets a bad name for maybe catching a little bit more on the sets and the little things like that. But I think it's the environment and the rule changes that make the skills different, not the actual rules of the game, where I think beach and indoor passing is the same, settings, the same, hitting's the same. It's just, what do we do a little bit different to take advantage of only 2 people on the court or playing in sand, right?
Perfect. Yeah, you already touched on my next question there with the benefits for indoor players. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of freedom, creativity, and kind of taking ownership of the sport. What age do you think kids should start getting involved in beach?
See, that one's a tricky one because I think it's hard. Like, I think volleyball in general is hard. Where I was thinking about this, if you play an invasion sport like hockey, lacrosse, soccer, if somebody fumbles the object, the play continues. Like, we don't have to stop and get set up again and start. Where in volleyball, if somebody fumbles the ball and it hits the ground, we start again. So it gets a little boring for the younger kids. So I think what I would encourage athletes to do, or already parents or coaches who want to get involved, is they don't need to play the adult game. Like, I don't think an 8-year-old needs to play 2-on-2. You can add 3-on-3, 4-on-4. You can add a catch. You can have them throw the ball. Like, you can just get them moving outside. And I think that makes it a little bit more enjoying because I think it's the rallies they're after, or they want to hit. If anyone's ever played smash ball, like, that's arguably not the adult version of volleyball, but it's so much fun for the kids to try. So I think at the younger age groups, you need to get a little bit more creative. And even when I was with the OVA working on the beach crew, when we did 12U, the court was smaller. We made it 7x7 just to, again, encourage more rallies, less space for them to cover. So I think for the younger age groups, I think 8, 9, 10-year-olds can definitely play, but you got to modify the game a little bit to make it more enjoyable for them. And then seeing provinces that have had beach for a while, like BC and Ontario are the ones. Quebec stands out in my mind, that like 12-year-olds can play. Like, I go down to Ashbridges and I see kids hand setting, I see them playing. So I think having early access to it with some modified rules or some mini games, and then at 12, 13, 14, they're playing the 2-on-2 game really well.
Perfect. And then just last question here: if kids are getting ready for beach volleyball, plans to play this summer, what tips do you have for them in their training? Is there anything they can be doing at home, even right now with Ontario's got a stay-at-home order, but for anyone just at home, what can they be doing to get ready for the sand?
Well, I think with the national team, when we were shut down, one great thing that our strength coach Andrew did is he encouraged our athletes to skip, just because moving in sand's really hard. You're going to jump a lot in the beach because like if you're the blocker, you're jumping maybe 100 times, 120 times a match. So that's a lot of volume if you're going from doing nothing and watching Netflix and playing Nintendo to going to play beach. So I think any skipping or jumping or running you can do before you get outside, and then if you have a parent, a sibling, a friend that you're allowed to maybe play in the backyard with or get going, I think go outside and play and see what happens to the ball when you pass it really high, when you pass it low, when you pass it with spin, when you pass it with no spin, and just kind of experiment with that stuff. Because I think less people on the court and the wind is probably the biggest frustration for a lot of athletes, because in indoor it's a little bit more controlled. You can kind of tell the flight path of the ball versus beach. The wind can frustrate some people pretty early on. So I think just having that experience in your own backyard or at a park, if your region allows for that, just go hack around a little bit and play with it. And then the better you get, the more enjoyable it gets, because on the beach, like I said, you're going to touch the ball way more often. Usually you're your own coach, you're playing with your friends. Like, it just gives you a little bit of a mental break. And then when you go back to your indoor team, you're going to have so much more reps and game experience. And it does provide a different break in the season, where I think if you play beach and indoor, it's not playing volleyball year round. It's like two different sports. So you get excited for the next one when the start of the next indoor season will come along.
Perfect. All right, Josh, thank you very much for taking the time and joining me today on this episode of Mikasa Canada Road to Nationals and providing us with a little bit of insight into beach volleyball.
This is awesome, Josh. Thanks for having me.
All right, and thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Mikasa Canada Road to Nationals.